Hi everyone, welcome to another in a series of me meeting various experts, and today I've got the wonderful Kim Jones here to talk to us about planning. Now, last night in the UK we went into lockdown 3, so I do feel like this is a timely conversation to be having. Welcome Kim, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thanks very much. Yes, it is very timely, isn't it? Planning in a crisis. Here we are again.
Yeah, definitely.
So you
Yeah.
think about it, people have been very optimistic coming out of Christmas, the vaccine, and then starting to plan to think, oh, it might be summer by then. And now we feel ourselves the horizon moving further and further away. So I
Yeah.
think the first thing I'd sort of say to people is, well, planning is a mental activity. It's a thinking activity. So rushing to act too quickly is never a good idea. There are some immediate things that people have had to do, obviously, even really basic things around their people and their teams and childcare and all of the other things that would be required. And if your business was one that's been really badly affected by being closed, so you will go into the routines that you've done before. But I'd say the first thing is to really be realistic about your goals and be kind to yourself. One of the things that we're not doing is putting ourselves first. So if you're not really able to look after yourself, you can't look after your people and your business. So what we've all learned over this time is to physically look after ourselves as well. So building some resilience. So thinking about your fitness, your wellness, and being very good at telling people that's what you're doing. Because if you role model that behavior, people will follow it in your teams.
That's a
As
really
well.
good point about actually telling people what
Yeah.
you're doing, because I
And
think
telling
that
what you're
that
doing.
doesn't
So,
happen.
if I don't
Yeah.
look after myself really well, I can't look after you guys. My
Yeah.
job's to look after you guys. So I must look after myself as well and tell people what you're doing. Because thinking and planning activities are not visible actions, people think you're not doing anything.
That's true. Yeah.
So you don't, because they can't see you doing stuff. So the things you might have done before, like going to customers, being on a shop floor, all the visible signs of you as a leader running your business, they're not going to be there, are they?
Mm.
Or they're at home because they're now working in a different environment. It's how do you do that? So it's about communication and
Mm.
thinking about that. So planning is a mindset. So thinking about the things that you have to do. Make your first action something that you can do. So you have a quick win and a success. So don't give yourself too many uh, massive objectives. Break them down into steps. The planning activity itself is not necessarily about having a plan you can do. So keeping it simple is really important. It's about the discipline of being able to flex and change. So what planning teaches you is how to problem solve better.
Yeah.
So in your planning, you have to have some priorities and some objectives. And for most of us, the biggest one is our customers. Looking at the problems that you can solve for them and planning around their needs. What can I do to service their needs? I'm having to do it differently than I did before. So we've all seen really innovative ways that restaurants and food outlets have become, shops, takeaways, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
You know, so people are innovating. So how can I serve customers the best ways? What can we do in the business? And that's a planning activity. And it
Yeah.
involves a lot of thinking and a lot of research and working out how to do it, talking to your people about it. So getting people involved as well. So keep your sort of mindset about that.
Yeah.
So focusing on the things you can do and not obsessing about the unknowns, because we've all got these massive unknowns. And what they do is they just slow us down, and they're largely unknown for everyone. So
Yeah.
it
That's
is,
true. Yeah.
in a lot of ways, it's a level playing field in that respect.
Yeah.
No one knows those things. So what is
Yeah.
it that you do know? Work within those, and
Yeah.
you can then flex around the changes that come in. So a lot of people might have had plans for what do we do if lockdown comes again.
Yeah.
So found it easier to get going this morning because they'd already got, a plan B sitting there
Yeah.
to, they
Definitely.
had, their childcare sorted a different way. They might have planned to take work home so they could work from home more efficiently, equipment, etc. So it's really keeping it very simple. I would also say write it down, but keep it simple. So we use something called a SOAP, which is a strategy on a page, which is a very
Okay.
simple action plan. So you have your objectives, you keep them simple, and then you plan your actions that they're very simple. So you can see what is the action, who's doing it, when are they doing it, what's a measure of success, how will I know what I'm measuring as progress, and use that and communicate with your teams and your people. You might have one for yourself as a business owner, for instance, and you might have one that's internal for the team,
Yeah.
because you might have some actions that you really don't want to share with them yet because it's about the business, and then
Yeah.
this one to keep the business running. And you've got
Okay.
lots of assets at your disposal, and I would say make sure you put them into place. So think of all the social capital, the emotional capital you've got in your people. So nurture it, look after it, get them to stretch and use it. So doing community work if you're all furloughed, getting some projects going, keep them motivated so that when you are going to be busy again, they come back energized, not deflated.
I think that's a lovely tip, because I do know some people who got a message last night saying you're back on furlough, and some companies are better than others, I think, at keeping in touch and keeping the teams together even if they are furloughed. And there's a massive risk for people dissociating from the company they work for, and them feeling quite alone in that situation. So some sort of voluntary or community kind of work or something like that would be really great.
So, champion your projects, work with a food bank, work with a school. I've seen people, sort of technology companies, helping with their laptop distribution out to people at home because they need
Yeah.
to be hard drives wiped and cleaned up, so they're just getting their people to involved in these projects so
Yeah.
that they can keep going. People are doing driving for deliveries. Look at what things could do. So use your people who are at work, your managers, the people who need to look after the people while they're away, to do something constructive or to do some learning or something for themselves.
Yeah.
So make sure that you're looking after them differently. So your work switches from, planning and doing work around perhaps big strategic projects, but planning and looking after your people, because
Yeah.
you've still got to make money. You still got to have stuff coming in. So looking after the customers as people, because they are
Yeah.
people that you work with, no matter what it is you produce from them. If you make a food, at the end of the day, it's a person who buys it from you.
Yeah.
So looking after
Absolutely.
that person and that relationship is really important, because you've got to keep what wheels you can turning and making a bit of money. So that's really important. I also think drawing on your own support team. So who's your support team? Is it your husband's? Is it some colleagues? Is it a network that you belong to? Don't be afraid to ask for help, and also be a good supporter to others. So if someone asks for yours, even though you're a bit tired or a bit jaded that day, that person is reaching out because they really need you. And even if it's just, you can't really take it all on board right now, you just say, right, I'm listening. Let's sort this out. Who can best help if it's not me? So you really keep your connectivity going in a different way. It might have been much more about business in the past, but it might be much more personal that you need to draw on. So it's that's why you have to look after yourself.
Yeah.
I'm a great fan of Brené Brown about vulnerable leadership, and
Yeah.
this being honest about the situation you're in with people. So being clear is being kind to your people, to your customers, and to yourself. And that level of honesty will pay you back in the long term. So, having a planning mindset, setting that sort of conscious and engaged way of working with your people, focusing on your clients, and actions you can do will set you up for dealing with this crisis much better.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Kim. There's some wonderful tips there. And I particularly think that it's that, it's that, well, how can I help my customers? Having that, thinking of how can I help my people, the customers and the people that work for me, that can, if anyone is feeling anxious because of the unknowns, it takes all that away because you're focusing on things, like you say, that you can actually do. So yeah, they're really great points.
All you can do is just a phone call. That is really important for people, and it'll make them feel better, and it will make you feel better too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. And I particularly love a phone call. In these videos are brilliant, yeah, but actually like old-fashioned phone call is a really, really wonderful thing right now. It's quite exciting.
Well, I say to people, how do you want? It's really funny because when people are emailing to set things up, I say we can do the phone.
Yeah, I know.
We don't physically need to share documents or something that we need to see over the screen. We can just do the phone. Because you could go for a walk. You
Yes,
could have a
exactly.
walking phone call. And people say,
that's
a really good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got half an hour to talk through what you want to do this month, and let's do it while we have a walk.
Yeah,
you
see,
can make a
and
bird
that's
song
looking after you.
Yeah,
I love it.
And I just think that's a really good way of looking after yourself. You're looking after your well-being. You're outside, and it's good for them too. And you break that routine.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, Kim. I will share your details. So if anyone wants to contact you, they will be able to. And I'll speak to you again soon, I'm sure.
Lots of tools and resources on our website. Help yourself. Great blogs. Lots and lots of guidance to help people in this difficult time.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks very much, Andrea. Love talking to you today.